So thank you for joining us for this series of talks on Sundays about taking the essence. And if you don't mind sharing a little bit about yourself, we're so excited to have you here on do these teachings, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you in Florida. So yes. So my ordination name is Détchèn. So I'm from France. During a very long time, I was living in Paris, and now I left Paris actually about perhaps 10 days before the first lockdown. So it was a very nice time to leave Paris. And now I'm based in Lavore, close to Toulouse, where there is 2 monasteries and 1 center, the Nalanda Monastery, the Détchèn Monastery, and Institut Guinée. So I met the Dharma when I was 21. I traveled to Nepal because I didn't know about Dharma centers in the West. I thought we had to go to Tibet, and after I realized that in Tibet there is no longer, Dharma is not alive in Tibet. So I went to Nepal because I wanted to meet a Lama. And when I was in Nepal, I did an introduction course to Buddhism. And at the end of the course, they gave me the address of Kalachakra Center that is in Paris. They told me, oh, it's much closer to your home. So after I went to Paris, to the center to study. And 1 or 2 years after, I met Namazo Rinpoche when he was teaching in Amsterdam. And after I'm very fortunate actually, because I did a lot of retreats with Rinpoche in Europe, one in Mexico. And I went to 4 of the Light of the Path retreats in North Carolina. So in Rinpoche in 2009, he told me to learn Tibetan so I can become a translator. So I've been learning Tibetan since then. I think I will learn Tibetan all my life. And so now I'm a director of, we have a French publishing house affiliated with FPMT. It's called Édition Mahayana. So now I'm the director of this publishing house, and we translate books from English and from Tibetan to French. So if you have any more questions, I'm really happy to answer your questions. I think it's better if we talk about the light of the path. Did some of you went to one of these retreats, or did you follow online? Nobody raised no hands. Yeah, Nicole. Yeah. Okay.
I think it was the second one.
She said she went to the one where she met you. I think she thinks it was the second retreat.
Yes, right. Yeah, probably. I'm not completely sure myself, but probably. Okay, so Light of the Path. It's a series of retreats, so taught by Namazo Rinpoche, and based on a text written by Lama Atisha called Lamp of the Path. In Tibetan, it's Lam Jun. Lam, it's path, and Jun, lamp. And this text actually was written in the 11th century. So it's 1,000 years ago, more or less. Lama Atisha wrote this Lamrim text. At the time, Lama Atisha, he was invited to come to Tibet. Lama Atisha is an Indian master. So he was invited by the king of Tibet to come to Tibet to clarify the Dharma. The Dharma has arrived already a few centuries before to Tibet, but Tibetans said by the 11th century they were a bit lost about what does it mean to practice Dharma. So Lama Atisha arrived and he began to clarify what it means to practice Dharma, what is the correct path, and how to combine the sutras and the tantra. So he wrote this text for the Tibetan people, Lamp of the Path. Actually, it's quite a short text. It's 68 stanza. The goal, Lama Atisha's goal, was to present in a very clear way the Dharma, to make it very easy for the Tibetans to practice. So, and now we are 1,000 years after Lama Atisha in 21st century, and Rinpoche is giving a commentary on this text, a modern presentation. So when we think about it, it's really extraordinary that we can have these teachings now, like 10 centuries after the text was written, and we can have the teaching now because we have this lineage of lamas that passed on these teachings to their disciples, who then become lamas and so on. So it's uninterrupted, and it has reached us now. So we can think it's very so incredible. We are so fortunate. So of course, I completely forgotten to do the prayers. So now we can use what I just say like perhaps like a motivation for the refuge and bodhisattva prayers. We can think that despite all the different obstacles we have in our life, all the different problems on the planet, like for now in Europe we are in war, we can say, with Ukraine, we have this pandemic, all these different problems, but from our side we have met the Dharma, we have met this precious tradition, and either we have met directly lamas like His Holiness Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, or even if we haven't met them, we can receive their teachings online, and we can create the conditions to meet them in this life. And we have met with friends on the path. We can practice with them. They can help us. So we try to generate a motivation that is not just about our happiness now in this life, but we can think about all the different beings around us. They all want happiness, but they don't know how to find real happiness. So we are going to engage in this series of Zoom meetings about taking the essence, so that we can become able to help other beings to find real, lasting happiness. So for that, we are going to recite the prayers. We can do one time in English and after 2 times in Tibetan. And of course, in front of us, we imagine there is a Buddha or guide. He's very happy to see us all together. He's very happy to see our motivation. And we feel that the Buddha, we feel love coming from him. He's only here to benefit us, to help us. So we take refuge. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chödong Tsogi Tsoknam Chonchu Bando Dani Kyamsunji Daki Jinso Gepe Sonangi Dola Penche Sange Jompa Sho Sangye Chödong Tsogi Tsoknam Chonchu Bando Dani Kyamsunji Daki Chönen Gepe Sonangi Dola Penche Sange Jompa Sho. And just try to make you bigger so I can see you. Yes. Okay. So during our meetings, if it's okay with you, and you can let me know, what I think we can do is that I'm going to present some of the topics that are most important, most dear to Rinpoche, that he taught during the previous light of the path. And And during the Zoom, I think it's very good if we spend some time to meditate together on these topics. So it's not just more knowledge that we gained, but it becomes really something that we bring from our brain to our hearts. So it becomes really part of ourselves. And this way we can have some transformation. And I think it's good if we have the motivation that we come to these meetings, so we can create the cause to be able to attend the next retreat, Rinpoche. We don't know when it will be, we don't know where it will be, but from our side, we can create the conditions in our mind to be able to attend the retreat. Perhaps it will be in person, perhaps it will be online. So, do you already have received some teachings on the Lamrim? When I say Lamrim, do you know what it means? Or
She's not going to hear you from there.
Okay,
So you have to come.
just a simple yes. Was the
Yes was the answer from a few of us at the center.
yes. Okay. Is it the case for everybody?
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Just so I know you a little bit, it helps for the presentation. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So Lamrim, it's two words in Tibetan. Lam is path and Rim is gradual. So what did Lama Atisha do is to present us a very gradual path, path to where? To enlightenment. And so it's really a step-by-step path that we can put into practice. And from that, what Rinpoche is doing is teaching from his own experience. So it doesn't follow the Lamrim presentation subject by subject, but he really sees what are the most important topics and he teaches on them. And also, of course, depends on the people that are in front of him when he teaches. So today, I think what we can do is to start by looking at what is the source of all happiness. Where does happiness come from? And we are going to see that there are two kinds of happiness. One is samsaric happiness, and one is Dharma happiness. So when we look into our minds, into our hearts, we can see that what we are all looking for is happiness. So it's you can check. Please check for yourself. What do you think you want from life? Try to look, into your mind, your heart, and ask yourself, what do I really want from this life? And each of us, we are going to have a different answer. But if we look at this answer, perhaps we think we want satisfaction, we want peace, we don't want to suffer, we don't want problems. We all have different kind of answers. But when we look a bit behind, we see a bit deeper, we see that what we really want is to not suffer, so to be happy. And His Holiness Dalai Lama, he says, our wish for happiness is what we share as human beings. We all have this wish. We have different bodies, we have different skin color, eye color, hair color, we have different religion, we speak different languages, we come from different parts of the world. But what we all have in common is this wish for happiness. So it's important to check for ourselves if it's true or not. Perhaps it seems very basic question, but actually it's quite deep. And if we manage to recognize that ourselves, we have this wish to be happy, and then we can recognize that everybody we meet has the same wish, it's actually a very powerful way to meet people, to have this recognition. It's really like foundation for other practices, for other meditations. So we can look into our own life, see all the different activities we engage in, all the different experiences we had. Why did we do everything we did? Each one of these activities, perhaps we study different subjects, we make friends with different people, we engage in different relationships, in different activities, and different jobs, different hobbies. We went to different places. Why did we do all that? And so when we investigate, we can see that we did all that to be happy. So now the question is, did you reach our goal? We have so many different experiences that we engage in to be happy, but did we reach our goal? So now it's very easy. If everybody says, yeah, I reached the goal, I'm happy, then we don't need to continue. You can go on the beach, enjoy Sunday, you know, what you do on Sundays in Florida. But if we look into our minds and we investigate honestly, we see we're not very happy. We haven't, we're not satisfied. We always want something else, something more. So why? Why? It's because we took the activities we engage in, they were not able to bring us satisfaction, to bring us real happiness. It's because we haven't correctly identified the right path. And what is the right path? It's the path that leads to Dharma happiness. So what we did until now, most of our life, we engage in different activities that are actually outside of ourselves. We look for happiness, satisfaction, pleasure outside. So what we need to do now is to clearly identify what is samsaric happiness and what is Dharma happiness. So when we talk about happiness, first we have to understand suffering. Okay. Suffering, we don't like to talk about suffering. Actually, the word suffering is not so good. In Pali and Sanskrit, they say dukkha. And dukkha, it means dis-ease. It's when we are not at ease, when we are not comfortable. So it gives a very different feeling to say dukkha than to say suffering. So if it's okay, I'm going to use the word dukkha. And so in the teachings, in the Lamrim teachings, they speak about three kinds of dukkha, of suffering. First, we have what they call so suffering of suffering, dukkha of dukkha. And this one is really the most obvious suffering. When we hear suffering, it's we understand this one actually. We understand dukkha of dukkha. It's all the sicknesses, different sickness. It's not to have food when we are hungry. Is all the different kind of mental suffering as well. All this, even animals, they recognize as dukkha, as suffering, and they want to avoid. So here, what is really interesting to look at is the second kind of dukkha. So it's called dukkha of change, suffering of change. And actually, what it means, dukkha of change, is everything we think of as happiness. Actually, according to the Buddha's teachings, it's in the nature of dukkha. its nature is suffering. And after we have the third dukkha, it's called pervasive compounding dukkha, and it's referring to the fact that we have this potential to meet with dukkha because we are in what we call samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth and death and rebirth, being under the control of karma and delusions. Because we are not free, we take rebirth again and again without control. And we can at any time meet different kind of dukkha. So what we can look a bit more closely here, look into a bit more closely. So it's the second suffering, dukkha of change. And what we can do together, if it's okay for you, it's to do a meditation on this suffering, to really investigate in ourselves, in our own life, to become like a detective, to really look at this dukkha of change, to see if it's true what the Buddha taught. Do we accept it as a truth for ourselves or not? So it's very important that we check ourselves, the teachings. We cannot just accept the teachings because the Buddha said so, or His Holiness said so, or Rinpoche said so. So what we really have to do is to check, to analyze, using our own life experiences, using our analytical mind, and to see if it's true for ourselves or not. Only then can we make the teaching our own. Otherwise, it just become some knowledge, more knowledge we gain. We can recite, all the different teachings of the Lamrim, of different philosophical teachings. But it's not going to help us. It's not really going to help us to be more happy ourselves and to make people around us more happy. So what we need to do is to first to get the teachings and then to analyze the teachings. And after that, we integrate the teachings to our own mind through meditation. So here we can do a meditation that is analytical meditation. So we are like detectives and we look at dukkha of change. Here, there are so many examples of this dukkha of change. For the meditation, it's good to choose one example. So I'm going to choose the example of food, eating food. Perhaps because I'm French, so we like to eat, in France. To have good food is very important. So, and it's usually it's something we think about as happiness, pleasure. So it's good to analyze: is it really, truly happiness or not? So we can, each of us, we can choose a different example of a food we like, really enjoy. So when we do the meditation, it's like a movie. It's like we play a movie in our mind. We create a story. And in this story, we imagine we are hungry. It's been a long day. We haven't eaten, and now we are tired and we are hungry. So someone give us a plate of our favorite food. So let's say it's pizza. Everybody knows pizza. Usually everybody loves pizza, so we can take it as an example. But of course, you can choose another food, whatever you want. So we have this pizza in front of us. It looks good, it smells good. And we take a first bite of the pizza. So what happens? We try to remember from our own experience, how does it feel, the first bite of food when we are hungry? So there is a form of happiness, of pleasure. And we continue eating. We don't stop at first bite. We have second bite, third bite. And how is the second bite compared to the first one? Does it bring more pleasure or less or equal? What about the third bite and the fourth and so on? So we remember from our own experiences and usually what comes quite clearly to our mind is that the first bite is very good. Second bite is good. Third bite, usually we even don't pay attention to the taste. We think about something else, or we start to chat with a friend or whatever. So the pleasure we have from the food doesn't increase. That's the first problem. It doesn't increase. And we know if we continue eating, at some point, our stomach is full. Perhaps for the pizza, after we have eaten half of the pizza, the stomach is full. But very often we continue eating. We finish the pizza. And at the end, it's become very clear that we are suffering. It becomes dukkha of dukkha, suffering of suffering. Why? Because food cannot bring real satisfaction. Actually, when we look a bit deeper, what is happening is first we had a suffering of hunger. We were hungry. That's why we had food. And so the pleasure we have from the food is only the suffering of hunger that is decreasing. Actually, it's only what is happening. The suffering of hunger decrease, and we think it's real happiness. And the other problem of this kind of happiness is that it doesn't last. Just after a few hours, again, we need to eat. So it doesn't last. And another problem is that it doesn't bring satisfaction. Satisfaction, it's when we don't want more and we don't want better. But we always want more and we always want better. It's a kind of suffering. And I have a quote from Rinpoche. Rinpoche says, "You are always running, always, day and night, always running after desire to find satisfaction, to achieve it. But because your method is always running after desire, always, it is impossible to achieve satisfaction. No way. It is impossible to achieve satisfaction." And I have another quote from Rinpoche where he says, so he's speaking about samsaric happiness, and he says, these feelings are only in the nature of suffering. That's why the pleasure doesn't increase. That's why the pleasure doesn't increase. Doesn't get bigger and bigger, longer and longer. Doesn't become bigger and bigger, doesn't increase. So first of all, it doesn't increase. Second thing, it doesn't last. So then you repeat again, do again, so there's no end, never finishes. The happiness, the samsaric pleasure, which nature is only suffering, you can never complete. So the work trying to achieve those pleasures has no end. It never finishes. Like the ripples of the oceans, the waves, like that, never finish. So we can, it's good if each one of us, we can come to a conclusion, personal conclusion of this meditation. Is dukkha of change. So all the activities we engage in, hoping to get satisfaction, are these activities reliable to bring us the satisfaction, the happiness we are looking for? Of course, in this example, the point is not to stop eating. Of course, we need to eat. We need to sustain the body. But the problem comes when we think food will bring us happiness. What happens is that we exaggerate the qualities of food. We put on food a quality, an expectation that food doesn't have. Actually, food, it's like gas we put in our car. When we have a car, we need to put gas in. We have a body. So in our body, we need to put food in. So it's not realistic to think food will bring us real happiness, real satisfaction. It's just something we have to do to eat food to sustain the body. And Rinpoche's conclusion is attachment is a suffering mind. It is a painful mind which gets stuck on the object. It is a projection that sticks on the object. It exaggerates it as beautiful, gets stuck on it, and then it's painful to separate from it. Then it is the originator of many problems. It opens the door for many problems. So do we agree with this conclusion? In our meditation, did we see, did we arrive to the same conclusion as Rinpoche? if we did arrive at the same conclusion, then what we can do in the next days is to continue the same meditation. We can use the same object or a different object, and we can do the same analysis. And when we come to the conclusion that this object doesn't bring us real satisfaction, then we can stay, in one pointed, the mind resting on this conclusion in one point, like in concentration on the conclusion for as long as we can. And it's by doing this that we can make the conclusion what they call, realization. It's really become part of ourselves. It's not just an idea we had and after we forgot about it, but it really becomes part of ourselves. And slowly, by doing the meditation again and again, it becomes alive in ourselves. And when it's really alive in ourselves, it's realization. We don't need after to do again and again the analytical meditation. When we meet a pizza, we can enjoy the pizza. We enjoy the pizza, but we don't have expectations about it. We know it tastes good, so we enjoy the good taste in the moment, and that's it. So actually, now we don't really enjoy the pizza because while we are eating the pizza, we are already thinking about what we are going to do next to get more happiness. But when we know outside objects, they don't bring real happiness, then we can enjoy them. We can enjoy pizza, ice cream, whatever, just in the moment. And it's much better actually because we don't have all these unrealistic expectations. So we are really there, enjoying what we are doing. And if you didn't arrive to this conclusion that dukkha of change is really dukkha, then it's okay. You can again think about it during the week from different angles, take different examples. Perhaps discuss with friends. And try to continue to analyze, like the detectives we are. It's completely different way of thinking. I mean, we have been raised to think happiness is outside of ourselves. If we engage in different activities, we will be happy. But what the Buddha discovered is actually there is no real happiness outside. It's only contaminated happiness. So what the Buddha discovered, like a scientist discover something, he doesn't invent, but he just discover, oh, it's all reality works. So what the Buddha discovered is so what we call Dharma happiness. And Dharma happiness is a kind of happiness that increases. It's a kind of happiness that we can complete. And as Rinpoche says, it's one-time work. We don't have to repeat it again and again, as we need to do with samsaric happiness. So I have a quote from Rinpoche about Dharma happiness. So Rinpoche says, now here, Dharma, practicing Dharma, living in the Dharma, living with the mind in non-ignorance, non-anger, non-attachment, is protection from those attachments. When you practice Dharma, the mind is protected from that. You are protected from those superstitious thoughts, harmful delusions. Then, from there, you can achieve liberation. Then, it becomes the basis for enlightenment. Especially on top of that, with bodhicitta, then you are able to become closer and closer to enlightenment. Having the realization of emptiness, meditation on emptiness and the realization, then you get closer and closer to becoming free from samsara, from the oceans of samsaric sufferings and their cause, karma and delusions. Can you imagine just the practice of the three principal aspects of the path? Just the practice of the three principal aspects of the path. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So, have you already heard about the three principal aspects of the path?
I think some of us have. Is that renunciation, emptiness, and bodhicitta?
Yes, exactly. Yes, well done. Okay, so first, renunciation. So what is renunciation? So renunciation is when we recognize that there is no real happiness in samsara. Then we no longer look for happiness in samsara. So we realize the true nature of samsara, which is only in the nature of suffering, and we want to be free from samsara. Actually, in Tibetan, it's called Nyejong, and it means definitive emergence. So we really want to get free, to emerge, to get free, to get out of samsara. So it's why we call renunciation. Naturally, we don't renounce happiness. We recognize that samsara is unable to give us real happiness. So we renounce suffering in order to get real happiness, to get Dharma happiness. So it's the first one. And after, as you say, bodhicitta. So bodhicitta. So renunciation is for ourselves. We ourselves, we want to get rid of samsara. We want to be liberated from samsara. At this point, we think about others. We recognize that everybody around us is like us, trapped in samsara, under the control of negative karma and delusions, klesha, the klesha in Sanskrit. So they are not free, they are like us. And we think, okay, I cannot just liberate myself. I have to liberate them as well. I cannot just escape myself and leave everybody else in samsara. So we think, okay, so I'm going to myself, completely purify my mind of all the illusions, all the kleshas, and develop completely my mind, develop all my good qualities completely to perfection. It's what we call Buddha. In Tibetan, it's Sangye. Sangye, when you purify completely, Egye, you develop completely. So myself, I'm going to become Sangye, Buddha. So I will be able to help beings, all beings. Because for now, we don't know even how to help ourselves. We don't have the method to help even just one person ourselves. But a Buddha, he has clairvoyance, he knows the mind of all the different people he meets. He has complete wisdom, he has complete love, compassion. So he's always helping, and always helping in the best way possible. He knows what to do best for each person he meets. So this bodhicitta is this wish to become myself Buddha, to help everybody. And then third one, the right view, emptiness. So it's recognizing the true nature of the world and ourselves. Because now we think we exist from our own side, that we are completely independent. And we think what is around us exists by itself in its own way. And actually, everything is interdependent. Everything depends on cause and conditions. And we need to have this right view to liberate ourselves from samsara. And then, so I'm going to continue with a quote from Rinpoche. So Rinpoche says Just the practice of the three principal aspects of the path. Can you imagine? The happiness here is just amazing. The happiness of renunciation, bodhicitta, right view. Just with the lamrim, just that. Can you imagine? You have happiness right away. When your mind is into that, practicing that, immediately there is inner peace and happiness. Then, from that, you create all the success for happiness. That is correct business. You are creating the correct cause of happiness. All others are wrong. You are looking for happiness, but all that you do, what you learn, is all with delusion, with the superstitious thought. So what you do all becomes the cause of suffering. Here, with the three principal aspects of the path, even if you don't have actual realizations, but if the mind is in effortful renunciation, effortful bodhicitta, effortful meditation on emptiness, this is the correct cause to achieve, with renunciation, the happiness of this life and the happiness of future lives. So here, Rinpoche speaks about effortful renunciation, effortful bodhicitta, effortful meditation on emptiness. So what he means is that first, we don't have realizations. So what we need to do is analytical meditation on renunciation, analytical meditation bodhicitta, analytical meditation on emptiness. It's what we call effortful renunciation. And of course, someone who has meditated enough with concentration on each one of these topics, he has gained realizations. So then it doesn't need to do the analytical meditation. It becomes effortless. But for now, for us, we have to do the analytical meditation. So it's effortful. So, and Rinpoche, he says at the end, even though you are not looking for that, and by that he means happiness. So even though we are not looking for happiness, the cause of happiness naturally happens. Even if you are totally detached from this life, the mind is totally detached. But if you are practicing Dharma, then, by the way, the happiness of this life comes. By the way, you create the cause for that. It just happens, by the way, even though you have totally renounced this life. Happiness comes from Dharma. It comes from Dharma. So we can really see the big difference between samsaric happiness and Dharma happiness. And I have another quote from Rinpoche, where he says, the Dharma happiness you can increase, you can develop, you can complete. It's one-time work. So we can only see the difference between samsaric happiness. Samsaric happiness doesn't increase, while Dharma happiness, it does increase. Samsaric happiness, it doesn't last. Dharma happiness, it lasts and you can complete. You can complete it. And samsaric happiness, we have to engage again and again and again and again in some outside activity to get some happiness. But Dharma happiness, as Rinpoche says, it's one-time work. So it's much, of course, it's difficult to gain Dharma happiness because we have to practice Dharma, but it's only one-time work. And everything we do when we practice Dharma, it's going to increase, increase, increase. And we only have to do it one time. Even what we do in this life, in terms of samsaric happiness, is going to be lost in our next life. We can make a lot of money in this life, but when we die, we cannot bring this money to our next life. It's not possible. But Dharma happiness, Dharma work we did in this life is going to be with us in our next life. So it's very, you can see it's completely different kind of happiness. Samsaric happiness and Dharma happiness. So,
Venerable?
do you have questions? Yes.
Yes, we have a question. Someone was asking if you could define samsara.
Samsara, right. So Korwa in Tibetan, so it's the cycle of we take birth without control. Okay, we have no control of where we are going to take birth, and we take birth under the control of our delusions and karma. Okay, negative karma and delusions. We are thrown into a next life again and again without control. It's like a cycle. We are trapped into this cycle. It's okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Other questions?
Dharma teachings.
Yes, someone is asking if it's possible to become attached to Dharma teachings.
Good question. So attachment is when we put a quality on the object that the object doesn't have. Okay, so if we think like that, I guess the qualities we put on the Dharma are based on reality. It's really qualities the Dharma possess. But that being said, it's possible, like I think, more to become attached to, like to identify oneself as a Dharma practitioner, or to think we are great because we met the Dharma and we are doing Dharmic activities and blah blah blah. We create a big spiritual ego like that. I think it's a real danger. But Dharma itself, and if you love the Dharma, you want to have more teachings, I think it's good. I don't how it can hurt. Except you have to check, to not become about the image you create about yourself. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Lady in blue, thank you.
Any other questions? Venerable, I had a question, and so the first one is, could you pronounce your name for us? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then
so it's
yeah, and then I was
Détchèn.
going Détchèn. Okay. Thank you.
It means great bliss.
Great bliss. Excellent, because I was going to ask you about that. So Buddha's is the happiness. So Buddhas, if I understand it, they are outside the laws of karma. Is the happiness? Is it the happiness they experience? Is that not as a result of karma? Because I'm trying to understand how that happiness differs from samsaric happiness beyond just not lasting forever, right? So like our samsaric happiness doesn't last forever. I understand. Buddhas, they don't, I guess, do they experience happiness, or is it something beyond that?
Yes, they experience happiness. It's a level of happiness. I think we cannot even imagine this level of happiness. That's good about my name. It's really, it speaks about bliss. So we can see when we speak about bliss, it's even beyond ordinary happiness, right? And so yes, the mind of the Buddha is always experiencing bliss all the time. And where does it come from? It comes from the practice of the person who became a Buddha. So it comes from the different positive karma he created along the way. It doesn't come from nothing. It comes from the path, practicing the path. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's
Do
not
any of our
necessary question. You can just share your experience or share something. Yeah. Was someone talking? Yes, and please share any questions in the chat.
Nicole wanted to say something.
Just regarding the meditation on food, and it's a very interesting practice, right? Because when I'm tasting something that I'm thoroughly enjoying, I really feel, no, how is it possible that the happiness is coming from my mind? Like it seems so clear that the happiness is coming from the side of the food, the ice cream or the Starburst. I had experience with Starburst. Like, how could this not be from the side of the Starburst? So it was a very interesting reflection, right? I mean, because it seems so true that the happiness is coming from the side of the food. So
yes, exactly. Thank you, Nicole. And that's our big problem. I mean, why do we come back in samsara again and again? Because we want to continue experiencing Starbucks ice cream. So it's so it shows it's very, very important for us to continue meditating on this subject and to become very, very clear about this subject. So, and if it's okay with you, so what we can do, each one of us this week, until we meet again next Sunday, is to continue this meditation. Okay. And I wanted to show you, there is really a great book by Rinpoche. It's called Bodhisattva Attitude. It's published by Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive. I think what is happening now is no longer available. It's out of print, but you have the PDF and the ebook on Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive website. You can get it's a book on donation, so it's you can get it for free. And so it's if you have the opportunity to get this book, I know perhaps there's still some books somewhere that you can have, or you can have the ebook or PDF. To if you'd like to continue with some readings during the week. Right. So what we can do at the end, we receive a message from Venerable Roger. He's Rinpoche's attendant, and we receive a message Friday telling us that so Rinpoche is in Singapore now. He's having an operation. He's in hospital. It doesn't seem to be something, let's say, very big operation, just like a small thing, but it's good. Condola says very good if we can do prayers for Rinpoche, for his good health. So we can recite Vajrasattva mantra, Guru Rinpoche prayers, and Tara's mantra. So perhaps what we can do together is do one mala of Tara's mantra together, so we can just visualize Tara in front of us, and from her body, lights, rays of light are emanating. So when we do prayers for our teacher, we think that from the side of the teacher, we try to see them as pure. So from their side, there is no sickness or suffering or things like that. But what is happening is in our own mind, we try to remove the causes, to see them as having sickness, as getting old, not be able to do all the activities they were able to do when they were younger. So we remove all this from our own mind. And Tara, she's sending rays of light to remove all this not pure ways of perceiving Rinpoche in our own mind. So we can do one mala together of Tara's mantra. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Ai Soam. 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 Om Tare do da re do re so. On da re do re so. And so Tara, we think now Tara has removed all the obstacles that we have in our own mind. So now we can see Rinpoche having perfect health and very long life, and being with us for a very, 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 very long time. And we can all receive his direct teachings. And we can do the dedications prayers. If the person sharing screen could share the prayers. So all the energy we created, reflecting on Dharma, we don't want it to. We don't want to lose it. It's like when we work on the computer, and at the end of the day, we save our work, we save the Word document or whatever, so we don't lose it. So, and today we created a lot of good energy, what we call merits. So we give a direction to this energy. And we do that through the prayers, dedication prayers. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly gain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. And after, we have prayers for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, the incomparably kind, supreme Tenzin Gyatso, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And then we have a prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche long life. So we can do it in Tibetan. Tum sun jong jin jang gen ge wei. Den zin kyong ben wei. Gun sen dong pon zin. Chong sun gu wei le man dong dong. Ba dang so tun ji gan tu shan ten shu. So thank you all very much, and I hope it was useful for you. And I hope to see you all next Sunday. And I hope each one of us, we take time during the week to reflect on what we saw today, and if we have a bit more time to read a bit from Bodhisattva attitude as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Venerable Détchèn.
Thanks everyone on